car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Well, good news. I happen to have the owner of that establishment. I refer to Frontier Motors right here in the studio, ready, willing, and certainly more than able to take any phone calls from you if you would like to ask a question of him being Iven Streckel with Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway. You want to get a price of a car, truck, or SUV? Call us, 478-3116, 478-3116 for the next half hour. Good morning, Iven.
Hey, Don, thanks so much for the introduction. And this not only is on 1370 AM Talk Radio, it's also being videotaped for our Blab TV customers on satellite and cable. So if you're watching this, this probably isn't a live show. But if you're listening to this on 1370, it is a live show. And what we talk about here in the next half hour is what's going on in the car industry, a little bit nationwide, a little bit at Frontier Motors, and also a little bit what's going on in Pensacola. And one of the things we talk about is the things that we do for our community that helps people make sure that when they are in the market for a car that they get a good deal. And the way that we can help people is by giving them what I call the real value of a car. And when I say the real value, I'm not talking about the Kelley Blue Book or the Edmunds. I'm talking about what I can sell a car for and make a small profit on it. And once I figure that out, I can tell you what your car should be sold for if you're going to sell it yourself. Or perhaps if you found a car at another car dealership or for a private individual, maybe on Craigslist or eBay, what that car should really sell for. Not so much book values, but reality values. Now, how do I get those values? Well, there's a couple things that I do. I do use books, but we average them out. One of the books that we use that you cannot get on the internet is the NADA Value Guidebook. You've got to be a car dealer, insurance company, bank to get this type of book. It's not available on the internet. Well, it is to us because we subscribe to it and we're dealers. Now, they do have a version of the NADA, but it's not the same. So this book's very important. This book will tell you how much a banker would be willing to loan on a particular car in our area. Now, the reason I say in our area, I moved down here from Wisconsin about 22 years ago, and up there they used the Kelley Blue Book. They didn't use the NADA guidebook. The bankers and insurance companies down here use this book. So you call us because I'll share the values in this book. The other book that we use is a black wholesale guidebook, and I'm only holding this book up right now for our TV watchers right now that are watching this, because we don't really use the book anymore. We have it on a phone and we have it on a computer. But the book is Hearst Publications, called a Black Wholesale Guidebook. It's been in the car business since I've been in the car business, which was about 15 years old. And these are what I consider the kind of the secret books, because it's supposed to be what the auction compiles their data and puts it in writing. Now, the auction has gone one step further, and they have come out with a program called MMR, which is Manheim Market Report. Manheim is the largest chain of auctions in the world. We happen to have a Manheim auction right here in Pensacola on W Street. And what happens is all the information from every sold car goes into a database, and I can find out exactly what cars are selling for at the auction. Now, if I know a particular car is selling for, let's say they're averaging $20,000, and you would ask me, well, Ivan, how much would this car go for? Well, if I'm buying one at the auction for $20,000, let's say that it costs about $1,000 to buy a car, and people say, well, why would it cost $1,000 to buy a car? Well, the auction charges a fee, anywhere from $300 to $500. The buyer that actually buys the car for us has to travel to the auction. We don't do this electronically. I still do it the old-fashioned way. I want someone to go there, to see the car, to touch the car, to walk around it, and most importantly, to smell the car to make sure that it's a non-smoker type car, which I can't do if I buy the car on the internet. So that's a $300 charge. And then it also costs me money to transport the car back home, which is not a lot of money, but it's anywhere from $200 to $300. So if you buy a car for $20,000, you're going to have about $21,000 invested in it, even if it has no reconditioning at all that's necessary. So then let's say the dealer wants to mark it up a couple $1,000. So now we're looking at a $23,000 value, a price. Now, if the NADA guidebook books it out at $25,000, obviously that book is too high, because I'm already telling you that I could sell one at a profit and sell it for $23,000. And this is the type of information that's going to be very important when you're in the car market, which might not be right now. You might be driving down the road or watching this on TV saying, well, I'm not really interested in the car, but instead of changing channels, just listen to the show, because you never know. Lots of customers that we deal with on a weekly basis said, I didn't think that I would really need your help, but somebody ran a red light, which seems to be a common thing in the Pensacola area, and they ran a red light, they broadsided me, and now my vehicle is on the verge of being totaled, and I'm trying to figure out what the value of that car is. Well, that's where we come in. Well, we're one of the few dealers that I know of that will give you a value in writing and sign it. So you can go back to the insurance company and let them know this is what Frontier Motor says. Well, first of all, you want to ask them what they'll pay you. Maybe they'll pay you more than what we said the value of the car is. That hasn't happened in a long, long time. But you never know, so you want to keep the information yourself. But let's say, and I had this happen last week, where a customer came in and there was a $1,700 difference between what I told him he should get and what the insurance company was offering him. Because they came back and they said, well, we have some comparables. This gentleman had an '02 Honda Accord and it had 100,000 miles on it. They were using comparables. One of the comparables they were using had 228,000 miles on it. I'm telling you, he should be given $5,600 for the car. They were offering him $3,000. Actually, it came to $3,700. So quite a bit of a difference. The other comparable had about 150,000 miles on. Well, his only had 110,000 miles on. And this is what I'm talking about, folks, that he's going to use my information, go back to the insurance company and say, no, this is not right. This vehicle here, this is how much it should sell for. And we found one over at a local new car dealership that had an '02 Accord on the lot, and they were asking $6,900 for it, and it had 170,000 miles on it. So I'm able to help them go back and have some ammunition to get themselves a little bit more money. Now, what if the car isn't totaled? What if the car is highly damaged, but they're going to fix the car, and it wasn't your fault? Somebody ran a red light. Well, I can help you get a letter of diminished value. Now, what that is a letter, in my opinion, of what I feel the car would be appraised for now with a major accident on the books. And one of the reasons this is very important is with the advent of Carfax and AutoCheck, these history report companies that have been out with, they've been out probably for 12, 13, 14 years. I'm not sure exactly when Carfax started. I know they're doing the largest one because they do the most advertising. We subscribe to Carfax. We also subscribe to AutoCheck, which is the second largest provider of history reports in the nation. We always want to run both of them. But if you pull up a Carfax report on your car that has now been repaired, it would say something like this. It'll say accident reported. It'll give the date. It'll say major accident reported, front end and rear end damage, airbags deployed, vehicle had to be towed. Now, when you see that on a Carfax report, and just pretend like you're the buyer of that car, what does it do with your attitude about buying this car? Well, a couple things. Number one, you can say, forget it. I'm not buying a car that's been in a major wreck, and I'm out of here. Or number two, well, let me take a closer look at that car and let me see what type of a deal I can get. Because if I'm going to give you a letter of diminished value, let's say it's $3,000 or $4,000, and now I'm able to sell that car for $3,000 or $4,000 less, the car might be worth it. Now, remember, it's not totaled. It's been damaged, but maybe they got fixed by like West Florida Paint and Body or Cook's or one of the reputable auto body places in our area that uses new parts and guarantees their work. Sometimes I kind of snicker a little bit because if you've got an 8-year-old car and it's been smashed hard, they put brand new parts in this car, wouldn't the value go up? Everything's brand new. You got a brand new radiator, brand new air conditioner, new condenser, probably new generator. I mean, everything's new on that car if you got a front end collision. I would think you should pay more for that car. Well, guess what, folks? That's not the way it works. So what I do is I give you a letter of diminished value, and the insurance company will write you a check because when you trade that car in, it's going to be worth less. I remember a couple of years ago, a lady came with a BMW 5 Series, and it was a relatively new car. It was a very expensive car, between $50,000 and $60,000. It was only a year old, and somebody smashed her pretty hard. It was like $17,000 worth of damage. Well, she had it repaired over at Sandy Stenson BMW. It was a Sandy Stenson car. And then she came to me. I gave her a letter to diminished value. It was almost $5,000. And then she turned around and said, I want to put the car on consignment. Will you sell it for me? It was a third car. She didn't need the car. So I said, sure. So I put it on consignment. And I thought, well, this is going to be a hard car to sell because the Carfax said major damage reported. But you know what? We sold that car like, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think it was like within 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And the reason we sold it is because the person that was looking at that car saw the value that he could buy that car $5,000 less. He went and got it inspected to make sure the repairs were done properly for his peace of mind, and he bought the car. And guess what? He got a deal. Now, I'll tell people, if you buy a car like that and you're going to sell it in 5 years, it's going to be worth a little less. But if you saved $5,000 on it, who cares? So I'm not telling you not to buy a car that's been damaged. I'm just saying is make sure you get a deal. Every car that we appraise, we run the history reports, not just to see if it's been an accident, but we want to know how many owners did it have? Where was it registered? In Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, they had a sale, and they had some vehicles that I thought were pretty good looking. They were all jacked up pickup trucks, relatively new, but they were all from New York. And I'm thinking like, man, I get a bit nervous. They were, I think, 2 or 3 years old. I get a little bit nervous buying a vehicle that was from upstate New York because people are nervous about the salt and the air and the hot and the cold and the snow and what it does to a vehicle within 3 to 4 years. It could rust the vehicle out. It could fade the paint. And most people that have ever lived up north know that the roads up north are not as good as the roads down south. A lot of potholes, and the reason is because you've got a lot of freezing and melting, so you got a lot of potholes. Well, that plays havoc on a car's suspension system. I don't mind buying a car from up north if it's 1 year old, but if it starts getting older than that, I'm pretty much going to stick with a Florida car or an Arizona car or a Texas car. And that's just if I have a choice, because I can buy a car anywhere. Sometimes you don't have a choice. When I lived in Wisconsin, I had no problem buying a Wisconsin car because that's all we had. We didn't fly down to Florida to get a Florida car. But anyways, that's one of the reasons that we do the history report. We want to find out if there's any odometer problems. We want to find out maybe if it was a lemon law buyback. These are all things that the history reports are going to tell you. And I want everybody to know out there that Frontier Motors does these history reports for anybody at no charge. So if you're going to buy your neighbor's car, or maybe you're going to buy it from one of the smaller lots over on Palafox. I don't know if you've ever been on old Palafox. They probably got 25 car lots out there. Well, a lot of those car lots, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with them, but they don't subscribe to the Carfax because it's quite expensive. We're a large dealership. I subscribe to it. I get a deal because we run so many. I have a one price thing where I pay one fee and I can run as many as I want. So we offer that to the general public, that if you're going to buy your neighbor's car or another car at another car dealership and they won't give you the Carfax report, just let us know and we're going to do it at no charge. You would still save $6,200 on a 1 year old car with 12 to 15,000 miles on it. That's still under factory warranty, clean history report, no accidents, no issues. And we will guarantee, people always ask, well, what about flood damage? You know, everybody's worried about flood damage. What happened this year has been an awful, awful year for storm damage on vehicles. And everybody knows about the Texas and the Florida flooded cars. I will guarantee on the air right now that if I ever sold you a flood damaged car and it came out later, it was flood damaged and we didn't know it, I would give you all your money back. Now, when I'm talking about flood damage, I'm not talking about somebody leaving your sunroof open and the car got rained in. That's not what I call it, flood damage. Flood damage, if you had water.
That would actually total the car, wouldn't it? Flooding would total a car, yeah. But what I'm getting at, people are nervous that it doesn't get totaled on. And I've seen people take their cars to the car wash and tell them, hey, I'll pay you extra, take the carpet out, clean the carpet, steam clean the interior, put it all back together, and then they go to a car dealership and trade it in. Well, car dealer doesn't know, if they do a good job cleaning it. So what I'm getting at is that if that happens, don't worry. We're going to give you your money back. That is including taxes, the dock fee, tag transfer, everything. I would never, ever want it to get out that we screwed up and sold a car that was flood damaged and didn't catch it. So we would give you money back. Now, one of the reasons that I can also offer this is that the newer cars that we have, we buy at the auctions, and the auction guarantees them to me. So if they have the green light on, that means they guarantee them, which means I guarantee them. And I didn't do that whether I buy at the auction or not. First year depreciation, $9,200. Second year depreciation, it jumps up to $12,000. Third year, $15,000. And in 4 years, that brand new car lost 56%. That $35,000 car has lost $19,000 in value. Folks, why would you buy a new one? I can't figure it out. Why do people go buy brand new? Well, one reason is they're afraid. They're afraid. And I hear this from the little old ladies all the time that come in. I'm not buying no. They come in for the advice. What's my car worth? What should I pay for the new car? We give people free advice. That's what we do at Frontier Motors. Even if you're going to buy a brand new car,
And then we're going to offer you the alternative. And I hear it a lot of times from the ladies that are skeptical that the vehicle that I'm selling that might have 5,000 miles on it, what's wrong with that car? I hear it all the time. What's wrong with it? There's got to be something. Why would somebody get rid of a perfectly good car if it's got 5,000 miles on it? There are hundreds of reasons, and I'm not going to give you all of them. How about one reason is they just don't like it? That could be a reason. I bought the car, I just don't like it. How about the car doesn't work for them? They bought a 2-door Camaro and they just found out they're having triplets. That car is probably not going to work anymore. What about the hunter that bought a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, but now has decided he's not hunting anymore and he wants to get rid of his pickup truck or doesn't need 4-wheel drive anymore? How about the person that got sucked in by the new car smell? And they signed on the dotted line, and a week later they realized that, oh my God, the payments are $670 a month, and my insurance payment is $200 a month, and the fuel bill on this thing is $500 a month. So they got rid of it and they downtraded. And that's one of the things that Dave Ramsey talks about also. Dave Ramsey is an endorser of ours at Frontier Motors, and he says the same thing that I've been talking about. He's a little bit better at it. Let me tell you what he says.
Hey, Dave Ramsey here. For almost a decade, I've been telling you about my friends at Frontier Motors in Pensacola. The biggest reason is they help my listeners save thousands of dollars when purchasing a slightly used car over a brand new one. Consumer Reports says the average new car depreciates a whopping $9,200 in the first year alone. That's crazy. So if you're thinking new, don't. Go see Frontier Motors and see how much they can save you on a current year car with very low miles. And if your goal is to get out of debt, bring Frontier Motors your car and they can write you a check on the spot. Frontier Motors can also do consignments and they don't charge a fee or a commission. Frontier Motors have been helping the people in the Pensacola area for 21 years. They are the go-to dealer for free advice when it comes to buying or selling a car. Please go see my friends at Frontier Motors. And don't forget to tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
Yeah, he definitely does a better job than I do. I should just play that commercial 30 times in 30 minutes and we'd be over with it. We wouldn't have to do this show because he does the same thing. And he endorses only used car dealership in every metro area. And he picked Frontier Motors because we've got a clean slate with the Better Business Bureau. And it's just the way that we do business. They actually approached us, which was pretty cool that they came and said that we will endorse one dealer, but he's got to be the right dealer, and it has to be a used car dealer because he doesn't believe in someone spending the money on a new car because of the depreciation I've been talking about. And there are some cars, I don't have to put a little asterisk to everything when we talk about depreciation. There are some cars that I can save you way more than $6,000 or $7,000 on, especially if it's a luxury car. I used the example, and Don, I used it last time. I drove a white BMW 750 to the show last month, and the car was $104,000. $104,000. Now, this, I do have to say, this was a 2014 car, so technically it was 3 years old. 17's almost going on 3.5 years old. It was still under factory warranty. It had, I believe, it had 22,000 miles on it, so very low mileage. $104,000 car, and that car sold for about $40,000. I'm using that as a prime example. It's not a 1-year-old car, but it was a 3.5-year-old car. But talk about now, that's a lot of money, right? $40,000?
That's like a 60% discount.
It's unbelievable. $64,000 less in 3.5 years. And that's because it was a very expensive car. Now, if you're looking at a 2017 Toyota Corolla, a brand new one, versus one that I have, I might only be able to save you $3,000 or $3,500. So it really depends. But if I had one that I could save you $3,500 on, and it had 3,000 miles, and it was the color that you wanted with the equipment you wanted, I could probably convince you that that was a good deal. And I always tell people, if you're worried about that there's something wrong with the car, just go get it checked out. You know, Bobby Likas does a great job. I think for like $95, he goes through the car from one end to the other, and he'll tell you if the car has any issues. I think he even goes one step further. He puts that on the rack and he picks it up, and they look underneath the car, which a lot of places don't check, to make sure the car hasn't been bottomed out, to make sure that it's not rusted out, to make sure that there's no issues. So I always urge someone, if you're scared about that, to get it inspected. Now, if I'm selling a car with 600 miles on it, The only thing you really need to be nervous about is that it hasn't been some type of accident. I would actually almost suggest that you take it to a body shop versus a mechanic because everything's under warranty. It's got 600 miles on it. So if something doesn't work, it's covered at no charge. And another thing that I do have to also talk about is a lot of people have this fallacy that they think that if they don't buy the car from that particular dealer, that they're going to get bad service work. And that's not true. And I'll tell you from example, an example is that we sell every make and model under the sun. And I have yet to have a customer come back and say, boy, I wish I would have bought it from the dealer because they didn't treat me right. The average hourly charge when you go into a dealership is between $125 and $150 an hour. And that's the same whether it's customer pay. Customer pay means you write a check for it, or if it's warranty work. So most dealers, when I say most, I don't know of any dealer that doesn't. Every dealer loves to have your warranty work because the factory's paying them $125 an hour to work on your car. They don't care where you bought it. They want you to come in. That's why you get these flyers in the mail. Talk about flyers. I got one in the mail the other day, Don. This is crazy. I can't believe they're still doing this.
You're talking about car ads and stuff.
These car flyers. You ever get these in the mail?
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding up a thing. There's actually a money card attached to it. I got this in the mail the other day. It's a money card, and it looks like a credit card. It's got my name on it, and it says, congratulations, you might be holding $25,000 in your hand right now. If your codes match below, call this 800 number because you are a winner. Of course, when you scratch it off, the codes match.
Oh, yeah.
Just doesn't tell you what you're going to win.
One, yeah.
You could win a Samsung TV. Number one, you could win $25,000. This is instantly. A Samsung TV, an all-new smartwatch, or $250 in cash.
I'll go with a smartwatch.
Yeah, I like a smartwatch. I don't have one.
Yeah.
Does anybody really still fall for this crap? I mean, seriously, what a waste of time. Any dealer that spends money, I used to do these when I'm a new car dealer, only because I wasn't the owner of the dealership, so I was forced to do them. One of these mailers, Don, the average mailer that we did in Wisconsin when we did this cost $25,000. When you do a mass mailer to maybe 50,000 people,
right?
And they talk about a 1% return, which means you got 5,000 people coming in that are falling for this garbage. And out of those, you might sell 500 cars, which makes it all worthwhile. But I know that was before the internet.
Right.
People shouldn't fall. What I'm getting at, folks, when you get this type of stuff in the mail, rip it in half and go to the dealer and say, hey, I want the best possible deal. I always tell people if they're going to buy a brand new car, go outside the area first, email them, go on their website and tell them I want to know a price. Let's say you're looking at a Honda. Go out to Birmingham, go to Mobile, go to Tallahassee, go to Miami, I don't care, and tell them what you want, and then take that information to the local dealer, which in our case happens to be Pensacola Honda, and say, I want to buy it from you guys. Here's the figures I got. I want you to give me a deal because I want to keep my money locally. I always urge people to do that. And the other thing that you do before you go and buy that car, let's say it is a Honda, you stop at a Frontier Motors and let me appraise the trade-in. Because I'll tell you, here's what you should, the good deal on the car already because you emailed 3 or 4 dealers and they told you what the lowest price is. So let's say that they match it. Well, now what's your car worth? Well, you don't want to look in a book. You want a real value. What we'll do within 15 minutes, we'll give you a buy value on your car, which means that we're going to tell you what we'll pay you for that car, whether you buy it from that dealer or whether you don't. It doesn't matter. I can just write you a check for it, or you can trade it in there and I'll just buy it right from them to make it easy as far as you not being without a car. And that is something we do all the time. The other thing we do also is when we talk about buying cars, we're selling about 200 cars a month, folks, on the average. That means I've got to buy 50 cars every single week. People always ask me, how are sales? I said, sales are easy. It's getting the right car that's not easy. I would rather buy a car from a private individual like yourself, if you've got a car for sale, than buy one at the auction. Number one, I only buy auction cars if they're green light, which means that they're warranted and guaranteed. I don't buy old cars at the auction. Because once the hammer goes down and you own it, if the transmission slips or the air conditioning doesn't work or the power windows don't work, it's your baby. So I don't buy old cars at auction. I'd love to buy old cars, though, from people like yourself that might have a car, because that way I can inspect the car before I buy it. And that's a big deal to us when we buy old cars. The other place I get my old cars is from trade-ins. If I sell a new car that's a 2017 or 18, when I say newer, because we don't sell new cars, and you've got a car that might be 5 years old, and you're trading it in, that's where we get our older cars. People sometimes say, well, you only have the newer type cars, because that's what I advertise, that we're the alternative to new, but that's not true. That's not true at all. We have a lot of cars on the lot that we can sell for under $10,000, and if we don't have it, what you do is you leave your name and number, and you tell us, hey, I'm looking for a little Honda Civic. I've got a customer right now, he's looking for a white minivan. It's got to be under $10,000. I don't know what the deal with is white. He doesn't even have a company. It's just he's like white. It's got to be white. But I want it under $10,000. So I don't have one right now. So what I do is I go find that vehicle for him. And we've been doing that for so long. We have a lot of new cars on the lot. I've got a Dodge Grand Caravan on the lot, for example, with 117 miles on it. Not 117,000, 117 miles on it. A Volkswagen Passat with 100 miles on it. A Nissan Altima. I can go on and on about the type of cars that we have that are just about like brand new. And we also take a lot of trade-ins. Talk about customer satisfaction for a little bit. I always bring some of our surveys down. I survey every single customer we sell. We want to get feedback from customers, good or bad. And I gave Don a sheet right now that has the percentage. I think everyone on that sheet, Don, is 100%. I think there might have been 189.
Like yeah. Was
there an 89 on there? Or was it all 100%?
Well, I'm only looking at hundreds here. Nope. Yeah. All 100.
All 100%, which means that customer satisfaction is very important. Don, I got 3 of them. We got a couple of minutes left. I want to have Don read a couple.
Let's read one from Mark. Mark said, we had the most amazing experience buying our Buick Verano. Matt, and they're talking about Matt Fromsdorf, who is one of your salespeople, is an outstanding salesman, allowing us time to consider options without the usual pressure you normally get at dealerships. Financing was lightning fast. We'll definitely buy our next vehicle from Frontier, as well as recommend Frontier to our friends. How about another one here? Here's from Stephanie. Very much appreciate the straightforward approach and respectful interactions. Thank you. Here's a good one. This is from Bruce. Bruce says, this is my third truck or SUV that I've bought from Frontier Motors. It's always a pleasure dealing with Scott and Frontier Motors. You're always great to deal with and always fair. If I have a problem, I know you are ready to fix it quickly and fairly. Thank you. And that's from Bruce. How about one more? Let's see. All right. This is from Francis. We're very pleased with the entire sale. Robin stayed in contact with us while searching for the vehicle we wanted. Frontier Motors did not abandon the search on what was a hard-to-locate vehicle. The financing with our last lender was completely and smoothly handled, along with the payoff on our vehicle. We appreciate the professional service of both Rob and Rainey in the sales department and the finance department.
And what we're talking about, folks, is the fact that we make it so easy for people to buy cars. People hate buying cars. When they come to Frontier Motors, we make it a pleasurable experience. What we do is we'll give you a bottom line price in writing. You don't have to fight for that price. We make it so easy for you. We'll say, here's what we can do. Here's the out-the-door figure. And then we ask you to compare, because how do you know if you're getting a good deal unless you go somewhere else? Check out our website, too. Almost 400 cars in inventory. They all have prices, 31 detailed photographs. Go to Facebook, go to YouTube, and you'll see Frontier Motors there. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Auf Wiedersehen.
Overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.